Welcome back to season 4 of Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture. I'm your host, Kofi Outlaw, and forgive our look right now. We're kind of stuck somewhere between doing a studio show and doing a home show. We were going to do a studio show, but Matt woke up feeling not well. Janelle's stuck in COVID for her wedding next week, and our video team has to travel, so I'm in the comic book offices down here in Nashville, but apparently I'm the only comic book employee. So I'm in the studio here, and everybody else is at home because, you know, the guy with 2 kids. That's the way these things work. So welcome back to Comic Book Nation and our show as it is still rolling today with the spit and the tape holding it together here. But we are still going to do the thing because we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about this week, actually. We just got done with D23, and as such, from D23 and the fallout afterwards, we have a whole bunch of new Marvel and or Star Wars content and developments that we got to talk about. We are going to spend a lot of time on that. We've got some big TV events that happened in the past week. We got to talk about Family Ties and House of Dragon. We have to talk about the latest She-Hulk episode. If we have time, we'll touch on some Lord of the Rings. Matt has a whole big D23 gaming breakdown that we got to get to because gaming is a big part of our, comic book culture. And of course, this is Comic Book Nation. We have comics to talk about. And this week we have some host hype picks, which is us just watching stuff that we're not going to do a whole segment on the show about, but there are some things we might just want to put you on to that we're watching and we may want to talk about with you. So let's start all the way up at the tippy top and talk about D23. So if you go back to our last episode, it was a D23 predictions episode, and we kind of went through and broke down what we thought might happen at D23. But now we're here and we kind of know what we did get plus what we didn't get. So let's talk about all of that, and we're going to mix it with the things that have happened since D23 as well, because it is a week later. So let's get it all. First up, it's not even something from D23, but something that was interesting that happened just in fan culture this week. Keke Palmer is really having a good time in her career. She just starred in Jordan Peele's Nope, and she's becoming a one-woman entertainment show, and so naturally people have been saying, what could Keke, what kind of superhero role should Keke Palmer play? And, imagination being as good as it is in the world, people have obviously gone to every kind of black female character like Storm or Vixen or, so on and so forth. But one fan said, no, hold on. I have a different kind of idea. And you guys are not thinking out of the box enough, but Keke Palmer's personality would be awesome for her to play Rogue from the X-Men. And the internet was like, and then they were like, and people were generally like, and so people seem to be behind that idea. And I heard it and I was like, what? And then I thought about it more and more. And I was just like, no, actually, yeah. So how do you guys think about a Keke Palmer Rogue? Jen, now you can abstain since we know your stance on X. You don't have to dip into this one if you don't want to.
Okay, we'll let Matt talk.
It's not like the casting I would have ever just picked on my own. I would have never drawn those lines, but that would be super fun. I think she would. I love Keke Palmer. She's amazing in everything. So just again, that character doesn't I don't know. I don't necessarily. I think she would kill it. I wouldn't have made that leap by myself without the internet and go oh, Rogue, because to me, there's that character isn't necessarily known as with that kind of personality. Keke Palmer's personality is just so wonderful. And there's other characters in the X-Men that are kind of, I feel probably a little more fitting. But I'm down with whatever she wants to play. If she wants to play Puck, I'd be down for that. Let's make that let's make that happen.
Just answering some comments. No, this is not speculation. This is literally just the internet fan casting and us saying, what do you think of that fan casting? So that's all we're doing here. This is not anything. This is not really happening. Although Keke Palmer did hear this and she did retweet it with a funny little caption saying agent with like 50 T's. Saying, now the internet's saying it. Let's make this happen. So I just thought that was interesting, but we're not going to dwell on that for too long. Let's talk about some D23 stuff. So one of the big reveals of the Marvel movie side was we got a kind of first reveal of Captain America New World Order and what that's all going to be about. And of course, the big news was that our boy Danny Ramirez is going to be suiting up as the next Falcon, right? No, I'm just kidding. The real news is that Tim Blake Nelson, we've all been wondering where Tim Blake Nelson's leader is going to be coming back into the MCU, because he was teased at the end of Incredible Hulk. That movie was forgotten about until now. And thanks to She-Hulk and things like that we're, She-Hulk will be talking about later today, there's been hints that the leader could be very much actively plotting in the MCU right now. And it looks like we were right about that, because Captain America New World Order basically came out and said, yeah, it's true. It's the leader and he's out here and he's plotting. And and it's going to be Tim Blake Nelson as the villain of Captain America 4. And so what did you guys think about that? Has this like punched up Captain America New World Order on your hype list at all?
To know.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, you already know my motto, more content. So the more information I get, the more content that's being made, I get really pumped about just any news at this point, because it just excites me about it. I'm not like the biggest, I didn't like Falcon Winter Soldier very much. And so I really feel like the more Falcon, or I guess I get Anthony Mackie like steps into the role of Captain America, that's what really excites me more than anything. But any other additional information gets me really pumped.
Yeah, I don't know if this like makes me more excited. I mean, I'm pretty excited for that movie in general, because I just really want to see Sam. I'm like Janelle. I didn't like Falcon and the Winter Soldier, so yeah. I just want to see him really get the platform to shine. Leader doesn't necessarily like go like I don't have a Jack Black coming in when
well, I don't think it's the leader so much as seeing Tim Blake Nelson's.
I mean, it's fine.
Let's be clear. The director Julius Ona said, he let it be known that the leader isn't like somebody you got to worry about like throwing fisticuffs with Captain America, right? Like the leader is an intellectual villain, which means he's a planner. So right. Even though the leader is the film's villain, it's more about what the leader sets into motion as opposed to like fighting the leader himself.
Right.
So
I've just never been a big fan of the character in the comics either. So,
Oh no, I mean, but like I said, he's good as a mastermind who like sets up like when the leader took over a Gamma prison and like, released all the inmates and stuff. That's fun. Yeah, that's the kind of stuff that's fun. And it all depends, as we've said in our kind of Comic Book Nation MCU Phase 5 explain video, there is a whole general thing to Phase 5 being this kind of the villains kind of taking control of the world of an Avengerless world and kind of having this big resurgence, whether it's Kingpin, the Hood, the Skrulls. I said Kingpin already. Whatever's happening, whatever the leader and whatever he's doing and whoever he might be working with, plus the Thunderbolts, right? So yeah, I think there's going to be more of this being a kind of villain who knows. And the director Julius Ona said he likes paranoid kind of like spy thrillers, and so I think it's going to be leader kind of messing with Captain America and company, so like and more so than direct kind of superhero fighting. So I'm kind of interested to see how they phase that in.
In the chat, Trey's asking, my question is he going to be the primary antagonist or a side character?
I never know how to answer that in the MCU. Like, what does that even mean anymore, right? Like, I think he's going to be the primary antagonist, but like I said, I think he's just the mastermind, and a mastermind is not the same as a fisticuffs physical villain, So it'll be interesting to see what he does and how it leads into Thunderbolts, and all of that. So yeah, cool. Yeah. But I think the comments have a good point. Let's just maybe pull back before we get into our bullet point list here. Okay. How did you guys feel overall about Marvel's side of D23? Did it deliver what you wanted, or were you left kind of underwhelmed in the end?
You want me to go? I'm starting to think that I just get excited like way too easily, because I really was hyped. Like I was very excited. I was moved. And I also didn't like some stuff, which is, I welcome that, right? Like I welcome all of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
As long as I feel something and I feel like I experienced something and got information out of it, I'm very satisfied. But a lot of my, cohorts, like a lot of people I know who love this and love Marvel are not happy with it. And that really surprised me because I'm starting to go, well, am I thinking the wrong thing? Like, why am I so excited about this? I don't know. I personally feel great about it. And I had a blast checking everything out.
Yeah, I think oh, go ahead, Kofi.
No, go ahead.
I think what Janelle said was like perfect. Like, I think there is a bit of people get work themselves up into this is what they are going to show off. And then when that doesn't happen, they are disappointed at something that was never said, like that was never like, oh, that's going to be there. Like there's a little bit of that to me. Cause like, if you look at it, like overall, it was not like their strongest presentation, but like, we'll get into some of the Thunderbolt stuff later. Like I thought that was a really cool reveal. And I thought that was great. And, they showed footage from several projects that people have been asking, like, where the hell is that thing? And so now they get it, and now it's like, oh, well, that still wasn't enough. Like, what the hell are you expecting? Like, like I don't know.
To quote Kevin Feige. Like, is it ever enough, Brandon? Is it ever
like to
enough?
me, there's just there is probably a little of both of like overhyping when you go into it. So you're probably 9 out of 10 times going to be let down because it's not going to be, everything is not going to be what Comic-Con was. Because I think Comic-Con, people got super excited, but they also tempered expectations better. Of like, hey guys, remember D23 is coming, so they're not going to reveal everything. And then when they revealed like more things than they expected, people came out of there really hyped. And then they went to D23 like, oh man, if they did that at Comic-Con, they're going to do something way. And that wasn't, there is a finite pool of announcements and things that you can make at whatever stage you're in. So, I don't know. I thought some of the hate was unwarranted. At the same time, it's also not the like strongest presentation they've done in the past either, so I'm kind of in the middle somewhere.
Let's talk about some positives. Let's talk about some new stuff we actually did get to see. We got to see a trailer for Secret Invasion, which was a big deal. We had heard about it at Comic-Con, but getting footage descriptions really doesn't do justice to actually seeing it and seeing the presentation. Because hearing what happens, it's just like, people look menacing. Somebody's walking down an alleyway. Like Fury looks old. But when you actually see the trailer, it really is like, people don't, and maybe this is a tangent, but I hate how some people report like footage descriptions. It's like literal things you saw. Tell us what the impression was.
There's a ball in the corner.
It. Yeah, like tell us, like this trailer's tense. It's heart pumping. It looks crazy. It's like espionage. Like make the experience come alive.
Kofi, that's why you need to be there.
I don't need to know that Fury has to be here. No, I don't. I'm trying to do. If there's a theme of today, it's do less for me. Do less with this job. Anyway, so when you finally do see the Secret Invasion trailer, it is actually like a really kind of pulse-pounding, Bourne-esque kind of espionage thriller with some really great scenes. We're looking at one with Ben Mendelsohn kind of approaching another Skrull in a restaurant and then having the rest of the people in the restaurant all turn into that same person, showing their kind of fidelity and allegiance to whatever faction this is. That's pretty dope. That's a pretty upsetting scene, right? There's suggestions that poor old Rhodey could be in danger. With Fury asking him, what do you know about your security detail? And this just generally looks like Bourne in the Marvel universe with some aliens thrown in, and I'm here for it. I really do want to see Secret Invasion because I think it is going to be more of a pivotal event series than we all thought. Because, we, like Matt said, we all had expectations of Secret Invasion being this epic, like 4-film event, in the MCU. Then we heard it's a TV show and we were all like, oh, okay. And nobody had it like ranked on the top of their hype lists anywhere. But now you see this trailer and you're like, oh, something is going to go down. And this looks like it could be exciting. And it looks like it could be exciting week to week, which would be good and keeping you hooked and excited. So, yeah, I was happy to see the trailer for Secret Invasion. And, I was not underwhelmed by that at all. What did you guys think after seeing the first footage?
Oh man, this looks killer. Sold. Give me these comics. Tell me what to read in preparation. This is probably the thing that I'm most excited about. This trailer was just action packed, so exciting. So many like cameos from people I recognize. I obviously do not have a lot of context with Kree. I don't know. Did I just say Kree? So I just don't. This is going to be so fun and anxiety provoking. Like I genuinely felt this like sense of fear, almost like an alien invasion movie, like Independence Day or something. It just felt huge, and that's what I was worried about. I was like, is this because it's going to be a show? Is this going to be big? Is it going to feel like a show? I feel like that's been my concern with all of the Disney Plus shows in general, and so far I've never felt underwhelmed, at least on the action and special effects and things like that. I like She-Hulk. Okay, so don't come at me with I think she looks great. But yeah, this is my most exciting moment. I love this. I'm pumped. Bring it and tell me what to read in preparation. I need to read these comics.
Yeah, man, I came away. I was the one the week before, right? Saying like, hey, I want to see, like, get me excited about this. I stopped being excited about it because everything we were hearing was just like, it's not going to be what I had envisioned in my head. Like, I'm guilty of that too, right? Of like hyping stuff up to what it was in the comics. And then when it's not that, sometimes it's like a little deflating, and then you adjust, right? But like, I just wanted to see something that got me excited for the series. And this trailer did that. They got me. It's, it's not going to be perhaps on the scale of what I thought, but then there's stuff in this trailer that indicates maybe it is, and it's just they're applying it in a different way. The Mendelsohn scene is great. That's like probably my favorite scene in the whole trailer. Is that scene, because it's just like the tension and the realization of that like captures it's just a really cool thing. I mean, it captures that what people saw when like Elektra, was first. Well, I won't go into that because Janelle's gonna read stuff. But like,
I'm so excited, man.
But like it recreates that feeling a little bit in here. So I was excited. I came away pretty happy with this.
Guys, I just said Kree instead of Scroll, and I keep doing it. I've done it like 20 times, and I don't know why I keep slipping like that. What a
Do you think that's like the worst? Do you think that's the worst slip up we've ever made on this show? It's not even
but
close.
I've done it like
Doesn't
4
even rank.
times. What is wrong with me?
Okay, well, stop doing it. There you go. All right. So Secret Invasion. What about the other big trailer debut we got, which also confirmed and let a lot of us breathe? And we don't talk about enough of this. Werewolf by Night. We confirmed that Werewolf by Night is happening, and not only is it happening, it's a throwback kind of classic Universal style horror, like Marvel special presentation. And like, yeah, this is crazy. We were getting Werewolf by Night. It's really happening in it, and it looks pretty wild. Man-Thing. We got Man-Thing in the MCU, guys. Like, who had that on their D23 bingo card? Like,
Adam's
maybe this was just
somewhere.
Yeah, I know. Adam pretty much had Adam Barnhart, are like one of our Marvel deep rabbit hole Marvel theorists on the show, and unabashed Daredevil fan. D23 was perfectly fine for him.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, he got some Daredevil, he got some Man-Thing. Like, this is everything he's been waiting for. So Adam Barnhart's doing all right, and we're happy for it. But yeah, we're getting this Werewolf by Night thing. What did you guys kind of make in this? It looks like that crazy Drake video, that Knives Out video, but yeah, looks pretty wild for like a fun little special for Halloween.
I'm so scared to talk.
Possibly so many Easter eggs, Elsa Bloodstone, a whole bunch of other stuff. It's weird, but this is going to be like our biggest kick open the door to supernatural Marvel, right? Like,
yeah,
this is going to be nuts. And isn't the TVA in here too? Like,
why are you scared to talk?
I just am not about this life. I'm so sorry. And I'm so scared because I know all my OG comic book fans are like loving and living for this. And I just feel like I'm missing something. Like, what is wrong with me? I'm just, I literally was like, what in the Doctor Who, like Adam's Family, what am I looking at? I was just very
Wait a minute.
I didn't know what to expect.
Wait a minute. I just want to make sure I have this right. So you were our biggest defender of Rob Zombie's The Munsters.
I know.
But this is too much.
Okay, to my defense,
To be fair, that didn't have a man thing.
Yeah, horror is not my genre. We all know this. It's like I get very scared. I don't like not being able to sleep. But I'm gonna go in with an open mind. But I think for me, like it's really difficult to like just understand what's happening as like cold turkey, not knowing at all anything about Werewolf by Night. I know nothing. I didn't recognize any TVA. Like I'm like I don't know what you're talking about. I didn't understand what was happening, but I'm excited. I'm staying open.
Did nobody see the TVA in the trailer?
No, I'm sure there was. I just didn't recognize
They're the guys who wouldn't be in that classic time period with electro staffs.
Got you. Okay, so that's what's going on. I didn't even understand that. But here's the thing. I'm going to be open-minded and I'm 100% going to watch it. So please don't get mad at me, guys. I love you all and I'm ready to learn.
I mean, look, if it's not, if it's not for you, it's not for you. I mean, here's the thing. It wins points solely based on if Elsa Bloodstone comes to the universe because of this. Like if I get Elsa Bloodstone because of this show or this special presentation.
Like right here, this scene. Look,
it will be a win.
If you're looking at the footage coming up, guys in tactical gear don't belong in that time period. Those are the TVA.
So, like, if that is the case, it will win points with me. Overall,
there you go, TVA.
It's just not my thing. Like this kind of feel of a thing is not, it's not my bag really. I mean, I tend to not like the Marvel side. Like for whatever reason, the DC side of like the DC kind of supernatural stuff, I kind of eat up. The Marvel supernatural, I'm kind of hit and miss with certain characters. Like Man Thing's just never been a character I've gotten into. Like so, there's just this doesn't necessarily appeal to me. But again, I will watch it. I'm sure I'll enjoy certain parts of it. And again, if I get Elsa, we're good. It's a win.
The whole thing's in black and white, right?
Yep.
Probably. Yeah.
God,
probably.
that just feels like such a missed opportunity.
See, I love that.
Me.
See, I love that. That makes me happy.
Okay.
Like I love that stuff.
I'm not hiding. I am not hating on black and white. I'm about to go watch a 3-hour black and white movie. I got to watch this Marilyn Monroe blonde movie after this.
Oh, I want to see that.
Oh,
yeah, it's 3 hours. 3 hours of black and white. So, yeah, I'm not a hater on the black and white part. Yeah, Justice is Gray, Snyder cut. I love that. Anyway, moving right along to things we didn't get to see, but we did learn about. The Marvels footage was out, and I know, Matt, you probably had a special kind of takeaway on that.
I did like, okay, so here's the thing. I know I also am not a fan of those types of descriptions. But this one was very succinct and I liked it. Like, oh, this person switched places with this person. Oh, this person, like, just tell me what is happening. I just love, because I felt like I could see the spot where Kamala, who is in space evidently at one point with Goose, is like, hey, we're a team. And I could just see the enthusiasm. And then like Monica and Carol, like, no, like we're not a team. And like I could just see that whole thing play out. And it made me so excited. It was a very small piece of footage. And it was cool to have everybody kind of swapping places. But I just cannot wait to see those three together. So I am hyped for that. I'm excited for that.
Yeah,
like
same.
Hey, thank you to Nintendo fan for keeping the logic right here. When WandaVision does black and white, everybody's like revolutionary. Now it's like Werewolf by Night does black and white. People are like, I'm not watching that.
True.
Because Janelle's not the only one. You're not the only critic.
Good point, though. That's a very valid point.
I also don't love WandaVision.
I do.
Yeah. So we got some nice things about the Marvels and the kind of humor that they're going to be in the dynamic. I think that was a showcase of that footage. Yeah. We got to see the Ant-Man 3 footage has been played so many times. I don't know why it's not online at this point. Because Marvel.
What are they waiting for? That's so weird.
They're control freaks. They're probably waiting for Black Panther to come out, and then they'll start hyping Ant-Man, and they'll release that trailer or whatever, or Guardians or whatever. You know how they do. Yeah. They always got to have something. But we did learn that Ant-Man 3 will not just introduce Kang; it will be a kind of direct connection into the events of Avengers: The Kang Dynasty, which is still probably the one I'm most interested in terms of a film, because I've read enough Kang comics to think that film could get really wild if it is from Kang's perspective, which it seems like they are trusting Jonathan Majors to carry, literally and figuratively carry this. So, I mean, I think it could. So seeing that Ant-Man 3 leads directly into that is giving me much more intrigue in that film, but killing that intrigue at the same time is the first reveal, the confirmed reveal of what MODOK will look like. And we got that. And if you haven't seen it, it's pretty wild. It's a shot. We should have probably loaded it up here, but we've been busy. But you can find it online, Comic Book Marvel. It's all over now. But it looks like a little kind of, man like poured into a little mech suit, right? Is more of what they're going with. And before everybody gets too mad, there have been some long-running theories that this version of MODOK isn't just some unique being, but kind of someone we know before who may have gone through some pretty bad changes and ended up this way. I don't know. Do we want to say that? Do we want to get into that theory?
I don't. Oh, I'm looking at it now, by the way, because I missed this. I missed the MODOK. I missed to look at it.
I'm trying to find it.
It's not like
it's linked
terrible.
In our show notes.
I will say that the Marvel's Avengers one is better, but it's a better design.
Yes. Oh well, this look at that. Look, the comments are on it. Yes, the theory is that Yellow Jacket will be MODOK. Corey Stahl's Darren Cross from the first movie ends up being MODOK. Is the theory that he went into the quantum realm and badly damaged, but his suit was kind of repurposed into MODOK. And that has been around, that theory, ever since your girl Evangeline Lilly posted the first script of Ant-Man 3 and tagged everybody who was in the film in it, and kind of screwed
she pulled a Tom
up.
Holland?
Yeah. And so she did.
I
We
don't
pounced
hate
on
that
that
idea,
fast.
though.
No, it's not. I mean, it's as good as any other idea for how MODOK comes about, which is somebody trying to develop something kind of makes this weird mutant brilliant thing. And Darren Cross could easily end up that way. So,
and we also used to get on Marvel all the time for like killing off their villains and like one and dones, right? So I love the idea of bringing someone back and making them into someone else that can be a factor moving forward. Like I think that's really smart. Like you should do that more, because like Yellow Jacket as a whole like is not going to come back. Like just as hey, Yellow Jacket's back. Like I don't know. Like are people going to get excited about that? But like transforming that character into someone else and having them be able to, because like MODOK plays a part. Because of just like he's involved with AIM and he's involved with like all the different things you can do with that in the greater universe, takes him from just simply an Ant-Man villain to an Avengers level villain if you ever built him up like
yeah.
that,
It also depends who ended up with him. Like my theory is that Kang found this dude, and like this is Kang's like conduit, into our reality and possibly assistant, which would be cool. So. Ant-Man, I really want to see that trailer drop. The big, we said Marvel needs big finales, right? They need a big event. And for this show, we got it in the form of the Thunderbolts cast.
Yeah.
On stage. So a photo leaked of some of the cast right before they came out on stage. We knew Julia Louis-Dreyfus was in there. Wyatt Russell. I always reverse his name in my head for some reason. Hannah John Kramer as Ghost was back. These were all kind of expected things. And we found out in that photo that Sebastian Stan's Winter Soldier will be leading the Squidod. But it also then came out in some concept art and a video from Florence Pugh that the rumors about that were always true. And Florence Pugh will be leading this film as well as Yelena Belova. Of course, she's too busy handling that Don't Worry Darling business to have been a D23. But we get how the game goes. And Taskmaster, the Taskmaster from the Black Widow movies, will be back as well, which has been people's biggest sticking point on this, right? People were like, Taskmaster. But, I'm not mad at it because this is a chance to have Taskmaster develop into more of an actual character. Oh, and Red Guardian, David Arbor was the other surprise. I didn't think we thought he would be necessarily part of the Thunderbolts.
So glad.
As the strong man, we thought Abomination or somebody was being kind of groomed for that. But apparently, Red Guardian will be the strong man. So, what do you guys think about that Thunderbolts lineup? Are you mad about any omissions, Zemo, or anything else? Yeah, you kind of get off your chest?
I mean, hashtag more Zemo.
Slipped
that-
it
which is
in.
not out of the question, right? Like,
Right.
it's still not out of the question. There could be a big part of this movie which is like ends up with them being like, we're screw ups, we need help, and in dances Zemo, which would be amazing if that happened.
Which is a great
Yeah.
point. Trey in the chat says, I think they're going to introduce Abomination as a member after She-Hulk is over. So that could happen too.
That makes sense.
Yeah. But
you
I
know.
love seeing Sebastian Stan. Winter Soldier is there. I'm there.
I do agree with all in the game a little bit of like too many super soldiers
Yeah.
in the Thunderbolts lineup. I do like it when they're a little like, you know, I liked the newest run where it was not the new run, the one before that, which was like
King
you
in
know,
Black.
Rhino and
Yeah,
Star
King in
and
Black.
you know,
Yeah.
bunch of random people.
King in
But
Black.
like those people, it makes sense like why not everybody is in the spot to just like throw them in here. I was just very much a fan of like, hey, let's take characters that are underserved or got a little shine but not enough, or maybe we didn't quite execute all the way. You know, we haven't had a chance to do anything else with them, like Ghost, you know, Taskmaster. Like, you know, people were kind of lukewarm on the execution of Taskmaster, so like let's bring them in. And so I'm a fan of that. I like the lineup. It won me over as soon as I saw Yelena was a part. Like Yelena,
It's also it's also clearly a team built on espionage, right?
yeah,
Like the ability to sneak around and or assassinate and pull off all that kind of stuff. Like it is a squad that whose skill sets do make sense together when you
sure.
put them together. So with like
Red
clear
Guardian
leaders,
is fun.
Yeah,
I think
he's
that's a
going to be
good
funny.
inclusion. Yeah,
Yeah, and the dynamic between, I mean, just kind of like I want to see the dynamic between him, Yelena, and Winter Soldier alone should be pretty funny.
Yeah.
Just watching that whole thing kind of shake out. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not mad, and I think the Thunderbolts still has room to surprise us. And of course, this is a first movie, and you know, we could get that Terrence Howard next time, baby. You know, whoever suits up at the end for the next round of Thunderbolting. So yeah, that was kind of the big thing. Let's hit some disappointments real quick. We got Fantastic Four confirmation. Matt Shackman is directing, but that's it. That's all we got. No cast, no Doom. We got no Guardians of the Galaxy 3 or Ant-Man trailers released online.
Yeah.
The Echo trailer released online, which I was surprised. I thought Echo would at least get released online.
Absolutely.
Because that's coming soon.
Yeah.
But you know, the Daredevil of it all, again, they might have to wait till after She-Hulk. No Wonder Man, no news about Wonder Man or anything like that. I thought they would at least kind of show a logo or confirm that, but none of that. And not only did we not get Deadpool 3, we also had a Disney rescheduled their whole John piece for 2023 and 2024, including that February 2024 date we all thought was Deadpool. It moved to September, but I still think it's Deadpool. I think it's just Deadpool with more time to get everything done. But the first Deadpool, we all think it's Deadpool because the first Deadpool movie was released in February. It became a record-setting release. Highest grossing R-rated movie of all time, highest grossing X-Men movie of all time, largely because it was unopposed from like February until summer because nobody else had anything. Deadpool 2 came out in June and got swallowed up within like 2 weeks. It came out like a week after Infinity War and a week before Solo, a Star Wars story. And even if Solo wasn't that great, it still just swallowed up, Deadpool 2's momentum. So, I think it's still Deadpool on that date, but we didn't get any confirmation of that. But all in all, those disappointments don't outweigh the things we got. And we also got, confirmation that the Iron Man side of the franchise and Ironheart and Armor Wars is still alive and well and is in development and have exciting things coming from that way. So, that's not too bad on a Marvel front.
Not.
Yeah, 40 minutes we just had, and it was mostly positive right there.
Yeah.
All right, let's before we break, let's talk some Star Wars. We got the Mandalorian season 3 trailer.
Yeah.
Which was good and exciting, but I mean, it was as hyped as you would expect that to be. And we heard about this from Comic-Con. It details the story of Mando and Baby Yoda trying to go back to Mandalore and get that whole thing restarted. But of course, there are problems because there's different factions of Mandalorians. There's the tribe that Mando comes from, who are kind of the zealots who don't remove their helmets. Then there's people like Bo-Katan who come from old powerful clans of Mandalore, and the Night Owls and her kind of freedom fighters who are more moderate and remove their helmets and do all that. And so there's not going to be an easy thing to bring all these people together and hold on to the Darksaber at the same time and get Mandalore kind of rekindled. But that's what we'll be watching for, that's for sure. So, yeah, I mean, and I thought the trailer was just okay. But at this point, The Mandalorian doesn't really have to sell itself. Right?
Really?
Like this one shot of... No, I don't think so. Because we're all going to watch
like really, you were let down by the trailer is what I was really...
No, I wasn't let down by it. There was nothing that let me down by it, but I don't think it's like the most exciting trailer. I don't even think it's the most exciting Mandalorian trailer. They're just some... I mean, the shots of those Mandalorians and Sabine Wren jumping out of the plane and the shot of Mando walking out amongst all those Mandalorians alone is just exciting enough. So, yeah. I'm in. I already know the premise, and I just like to see Carl Weathers getting more drip. That's really what I'm here for. And Babu Frick,
Yeah, I was so happy.
Younger Babu Frick. So, Mandalorian C3 is going to be dope, but I don't need to be convinced about that.
I feel like they almost showed like too much. Like I'm like, hold back, man. I don't need all this. I'm already like into
this could be the first 3 episodes for all we know. Like, So,
also, I was just excited because that one shot of the group coming down from the ship, did that look like Koska Reeves' return there? Look like that?
No, I think that's the Night Owls. That's Bo-Katan, Koska Reeves. I'm pretty sure Sabine's in there. So I think it's going to be... it's going to...
Yes, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, oh boy, Sasha Banks.
How'd you feel about all those helmets in one trailer? That was in the comments as well, Matt. Don't get too excited. So that was a good Mandalorian season 3. It was a great trailer. We got a new trailer for Andor, which, you know what? Screw the trailer. I've watched the first 3 episodes of Andor, and the embargo's up. So let's just do that. Yeah. So I could tell you my reactions to Andor. The trailer's good, but I will say my reaction to Andor is that it is very much Tony Gilroy Bourne style storytelling in a Star Wars backdrop, but Star Wars is a far backdrop. It is not Star Warsy at all. It is not Star Warsy TVZ in the way that every one of these Disney Plus series has been. It's not shot the same. It doesn't pace the same. It literally is an episode is like Michael, if like you've just watched 10 minutes or a portion of Michael Clayton. Like it's a lot of intrigue, a lot of character conversation, a lot of tension and unspoken tension, and then it just stops. And then the next episode starts. And I understand why they gave you the first 3 as a batch, because they very much are their own little mini movie. But and it hits the ground, and it is for me what I wanted. I love Tony Gilroy. I love the Bourne movies. I love Michael Clayton. I love that kind of espionage, inner bubble world where people are talking to each other and understand their lingo and the mechanics of their little world, whether it's assassins or lawyers, or in this case, kind of shady smugglers and people just trying to kind of outwit the Empire on this kind of mining planet. And I like those scenes. And so I like the kind of inference of character stuff without being told. So it was good for me, but I'm going to be interested to see what people think about it, because it is very different. And I think it's going to be one of those things like nothing happened. And it's like, no, a lot happened this episode. Loyalties were tested. People shifted. There's a lot in the thematic center of the show is very much, and this is what Tony Gilroy loves in every story he tells. People tell the same story over and over. Tony Gilroy's story is, the road to kind of deep darkness is not sudden. It's moral compromises made in little ways that begin to snowball up into big things, right? So this show is very much about what choices each character makes in the midst of these darkening times, this increased fascism, and it's obviously a metaphor for our world right now. Like how do people react as they see things coming down the pike that are dark and fascistic, and how does an entire populace of people sort out into different lanes, like who becomes emperor, who goes empire, who goes rebel, who goes in the middle and tries to or underworld and tries to make a living. So that's what this show is about. So it's not going to be a big Jedi shows up. There is not like big hooks at the end of any episode or anything like that. This is very much hitting the ground running of here's what happened to Cassian Andor to start a ball rolling that slowly pushed him into becoming a spy, and why he had to. So that's what the show is. and that's Andor. So we can skip past that trailer. Did you guys like the latest one? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good. Let's move on.
Yeah. You did
one
great.
big surprise. I think one big surprise for Star Wars side was the fact of, for me at least, was Tales of the Jedi, the animated anthology series that's coming out.
Yeah.
Okay.
That trailer was dope. That was not on my radar at all. I knew it was going to be backstories of like Ahsoka and Count Dooku and other people. But actually seeing this trailer was pretty dope. There's so many Easter eggs in it. But just the premise that Star Wars animation can continue to tell these kind of spotlighting specific character backstories to help flesh out the lore of certain characters is awesome. And it looks like it's going to be exciting. It's going to be kind of a combination of what I like from Clone Wars, Rebels, plus, and Bad Batch, plus what I liked about Star Wars Visions, the anime anthology.
Which was awesome.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to this. And the stories look cool. Like seeing Ahsoka training in that thing where Anakin kind of keeps shooting her with stun rays and teaching her how to fight, and Count Dooku's story, which looks very interesting, this was the surprise for me. I didn't think I would like it as much as I did.
Yeah, it's really pretty. I'm not the biggest fan of animation. Even I was like, oh, well, this is really engaging. Like I am actually very interested in this. So they did a great job.
Yeah, agreed.
Yep. So be on the lookout for Star Wars Tales of the Jedi, October 26th. Yeah, we're going to be checking that out. We got a new date. We got a season 2 premiere date for Star Wars: The Bad Batch, which I'm not going to get too crazy about, but
yeah,
it is one of my. I do like that because I do like this whole thing that Andor also explores in that Solo explores, which is the age of the Empire, which when the Empire started, how did it start? How did it take over the whole galaxy? Those are stories I do like. So Bad Batch Season 2, I'm excited about, and it will premiere on January 4th, 2023 to start off the year. So that's when that's coming. We got the Squid Game guys gunning cast in the Acolyte series, which is still a big mystery. It's the High Republic TV series at the end of the High Republic. And now Squid Game actor, I don't want to butcher his name, Lee Jong-jae is going to be in the Acolyte. We got casting for Ezra Miller. Oh my God. Ezra Bridger.
I almost did the same thing, Kofi.
Yeah, we got casting for Ezra Bridger in Ahsoka TV series. We didn't get a first trailer like we thought we did. That was kind of a disappointment, but we did get a first look at Ahsoka and Sabine Wren. And we got casting for Ezra, Iman Esfandi. So a lot of these poor other actors who have been harassed by Star Wars fans for a year or two now can rest easy. We have our Ezra Bridger, but we also are down a Rogue Squadron movie. Patty Jenkins was going to make this Rogue Squadron movie. And just like with Marvel's Thor 2, that kind of fell apart. This franchise fell apart on her. So, Rogue Squadron was removed from the schedule, and we have no idea when it's coming. But we did not get an Ahsoka trailer or any mention of any new Star Wars TV series like a Vader series. And we have no idea what's happening on Star Wars movies. I think there's like one set for 2024, 2025 is the next one, but we have no idea what's happening like that. Rian Johnson is still in the works to make something. Taika Waititi still working on some Star Wars project, but we have no idea what's going on with Star Wars movies. And that's Star Wars. Other fun things. Indiana Jones 5, we got to see something from that. We didn't, but D23 did. Yeah. But Harrison Ford and Ke Huy Quan, who played Short Round and Data in Goonies. He reunited with Harrison Ford on stage. And he's going to be in, what Marvel movie is he in? Is he in Ant-Man 3? He got announced for a Marvel movie. Oh, man, I forget.
Oh, gosh. I just saw these reunion photos, and they were just so sweet. And I was like loving it.
Yeah, that was heartwarming stuff.
Yeah, they did the little side by side.
He's in Loki season 2. Yeah,
oh.
Yeah, he'll be in
That's awesome.
Jonathan Cake. He also goes by Jonathan Cake One, but he will be in Loki season 2, which showed off something. Thank you, comments, Chris. Appreciate that. So he'll be in Loki season 2, so that's dope. So we'll have Data and Short Round in Loki season 2. So that's pretty dope. And Disney shuffled a bunch of release dates and gave out a bunch of release dates just yesterday. We were all scrambling, writing that up. We now know when Inside Out 2 is coming out. Mufasa, the Lion King prequel. We lost that Marvel movie. We lost Rogue Squadron. But we also got some other dates for Disney projects that'll be out in 2023, 2024. You can check that all out on comicbook.com/movies. All right. That was a lot. Whew, that was a show, but we got more to do. So we're going to take a break, come back, and we're going to do some quick TV recap, get to some gaming, and get to some comics, hopefully. Welcome back to Comic Book Nation, the only show that does it all for geek culture. We just broke down everything big that we saw at D23 and all the fallout since then. Now we're going into our TV recap section of the show, where this week we are going to start with House of Dragon Episode 4, which provided us with a simple kind of kicking off point for this. Matt and Janelle, tell me about the most fun you've ever had with a night out with a relative. Go.
This ruined my Matt Smith appreciation. I mean, he's so great, but like this definitely made me like pull away. Like my fiance was literally like, "What is he doing? What's happening? I don't know what's going on. Wait, is this happening?" I'm like, "Just shut up and watch the show, man." Like he couldn't even like stop.
Oh, I mean, talking. As my wife will tell you, when these moments happen, you have to be prepared with a blanket that you can put over your head so you don't have to live through these awkward moments. And then when the awkward moment is past, you may remove the blanket from your head and resume reality.
Yeah.
But yeah. House of the Dragon. So yeah, I know Targaryen history, and I tried to tell you guys early on there would be a need to recast some of these characters just for comfort level. But I didn't think they would go this far with this, with the younger actress Millie Alcock. But hey, we went there. So I mean, not to be spoilers, but this is part of Targaryen history, and it's not going to be the last time things get awkward in this show, not by a long shot. So yeah,
Joy.
You guys are gonna see. You thought Game of Thrones was wild. Well, they weren't marrying their cousins and such with the frequency that the Targaryens are. So, yeah, things are gonna get real wild on this show. But otherwise, I mean, but I think that the reaction to that shows just how much the show has pulled people in and gotten them invested, because people were invested and people were like, the memes that night were just priceless. House of the Dragon Twitter is priceless. The memes about Rhaenyra, that is your uncle, girl, and like all these other things, like hilarious stuff. So it's good to see Game of Thrones back, because I mean, it was a little underwhelming in that final season, and House of the Dragon is hitting it out of the park. And this Damon Streams, I'm sorry. One of our longtime super fans, Damon Streams, this was his getting his Game of Thrones cherry popped, as it were. So curious use of words there, but yes, that's what happened here, and what a time to be alive, right, Damon Streams? Yeah. Woof, go watch that Game of Thrones pilot. You'll see some other wild stuff go down.
No.
So Yeah. Oh man, but yeah, it's crazy. Hey, don't beat up on Damon Streams for missing God. Matt didn't watch God either. We did a whole first season, and Matt was like, "I don't know what you're talking about."
Nope.
We were all like losing our minds. We're like, "Oh my God, she turned back! Oh my God, Arya knifed him." Matt's like, "Yeah, true. Yeah, so he's not the only one." And everything lives on streaming. Everything lives on streaming now, so it's out there. Don't beat up on our boy over here. All right, House of Dragons. Anybody got anything else to say?
It's just so good. The show is just so freaking good. I'm so excited to have Game of Thrones back. Well, a form of it.
Yeah.
So my wildest night out with a family member. What? No. Maybe another round of therapy. We'll get to that one. All right, let's come back to that later. Let's talk about She-Hulk episode 5, or She-Hulk: The Unknowns. Up until now, press got to see the first 4 episodes of She-Hulk up into the medicine, and so this was our first week going in blind. Nobody knows what She-Hulk is from here on out. There are no screeners. Nobody's seen it, so. Yeah, we this was our first one going in blind, and I came out. I had an enjoyable time. I didn't like this one as much as I liked the last one, but I did enjoy it. And we got some great characters introductions in this. Luke Jacobson, who's played by Griffin Matthews from The Flight Attendant, if you've ever seen that show, he was great on that, and he was great in this as the kind of superhero fashion designer who makes the suits. And we got that tease right at the end. Let's just start at the good stuff at the end. We got our first Daredevil tease in the show, which is, how much of a tease is it? We know Matt Murdock's coming.
Yeah. We've
seen multiple trailers with Daredevil, so there's no surprise, but it was hype to kind of see that suit and the yellow and red suit hanging there. And yeah. But this was taken from the comics. There is a comic where Jen has to kind of prove herself about things about her She-Hulk persona by getting a lineup of men to testify about her, and yeah. But like I said, I think for all the reasons we like this show is still valid. It's a good weekly fun kind of procedural that also does this very clever way of moving things forward in the Marvel Cinematic Universe in a variety of directions. And yeah, it is even surprising, probably even Marvel itself, by having a stacked bench of supporting characters who are quickly we're quickly earning their contract renewals. Yeah, Renee Elise Goldsberry got to shine in this episode as Mallory Book, who has kind of a fun dynamic with Jen in the comics. And she really just owned the screen and was great in this. And that lady is 50 years old. She is 51.
Wow.
Yeah. You can go back and find her.
Dang.
She was a backup singer. She was one of the backup singers in that club in Ally McBeal that they always used to go to. Yes. She was on that show nearly the whole time as one of those backup singers. And that's when she was in her 20s.
Wow.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Awesome.
Rules are different out here these days. Yeah. Rules are definitely different out here.
What was the Netflix show she was on? It was like an action show. God, I loved it so much, and I was the only one. Whatever. She's great. She's great. General consensus. She's great.
Oh yeah. Yeah, and I love that Marvel could actually start selling its own bootleg Avengers merch now. People will pay. People will probably pay more for that than actual licensed Avengers gear from Marvel, which is hilarious. Yeah, Marvel's just leaning into the absurdity of getting that's Disney though, right? Getting every dollar out. They played a real Rogers the Musical at D23. So now that has to be a thing because of y'all. And now we're going to get Avengers merch. And, I'm going to get myself an Avengers shirt. Why not? Yeah, so She-Hulk, still fun. Still kind of loving it, even without Wong. How about you guys? Janelle, you've been pretty public about this.
Oh, yeah. God, I love this show. And I just don't really understand why anyone would not, because it fills this space that has not been achieved in any comic book shows, in my opinion, especially in, Marvel. And I just think that it's great. It's just something different and you can enjoy it. You don't have to take yourself so seriously. Not everything has to be the end of the world. We are adults. We are on dating apps. She's a down-to-earth chick that is so likable and relatable and also a superhuman. It's just so cool. And I really don't understand why If it's not your style, I get that. Like some people just don't like that style of show, but to say that it's bad, that's not right to me. Like it's a great show.
Yeah, I mean, no problems here from me either. Matt, any closing words on She-Hulk?
No, I think you know, I think Janelle said it perfectly, that like this show, well, and I saw it in the comments too. You know, it feels like a true Sir Glean, feels like a true weekly TV show. And I think it's just fun, man. This is something like me and Anissa watch together every week. It is appointment viewing, and we have not had that since WandaVision, because she just loved WandaVision, you know, to that degree. So yeah, I think this is just fun. It's and the stakes aren't huge every episode, and that's okay. You know, I enjoy it for what it's trying to do, because that's purposeful. That's not something it just doesn't have. So
I wonder if
Danny
it's
the
just
Pug.
more for women, because I saw Danny's
mean,
it
I
feels
was
like
gonna
something a
address that.
teenage girl would watch. Well, I'll tell you one thing. I am not a teenage girl. I wish I was. I am 37 and I love it. So maybe it's just a female thing.
Yeah, I think it's older women too. I've seen a lot
Yeah.
of women in our age, 30s to 40s, who also
Yeah.
really appreciate it, because there is a lot of sly satire for like what women have to deal with. And that's what a lot of the She-Hulk stuff is a metaphor for, right? So it is kind of what women have to deal with. And there's a lot of kind of female-centric jokes in it.
Yeah.
Just from like the bar conversation between Mallory and Jen is a scene I think a lot more women would get, as opposed to like men. When women get to speak to each other honestly and kind of drop the sociopolitics of like whatever they're working at or competing with each other, and they get to kind of reflect on, you know, their shared experiences. I think that's a scene a lot of girls gravitate towards, that men may not be on the inside of that bubble, but that's okay.
Yeah.
Think of how many things there's a lot of, I hate to break it to the world, but there are a lot of people out here in the world who don't always get to feature on TV, and we have to watch a lot of other stuff and learn to watch other people and other stuff. Because as much as we talk about Lord of the Rings and everything happening now, you know, a lot of us had to still love Lord of the Rings back in the day style. Like, you know, somehow we managed. So I think you all can manage too. And if you're feeling a little pinch because you have to do that these days, welcome to the party, okay? Welcome to what the rest of us have been doing since we fell out into this mud hole. Okay.
I like what Reggie says. I love how it shows the perspectives of non-superheroes in the Marvel universe. That is really cool.
Yeah. So speaking of Rings of Power, it's still a show. It has people in it, and you know, I watch those people in that show. It's good, but I think somebody had a good breakdown of this online, but it is more of TV by TV numbers. And I hope it starts to surprise us a little more, because like every moment plays like a TV show I know I've seen before, down to like this episode. There was a moment of tension with a child and an orc, and is the orc going to slash the child? And the orc raises its hand like, oh, dramatically. And you're like, he's going to get stabbed. And he gets stabbed. And you're like, okay. You know, so I like Rings of Power, but it's not appointment viewing to me like House of the Dragon is. It's just a still entertaining, absorbing show, and you know, I watch it, so it's okay. And this episode was okay too, for me. Production looks pretty.
Yeah, it's pretty. It's great.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah,
I know Matt's dying. I'm just trying to speed through and get us to the stuff that he's really here.
You're fine.
I said I know you're dying, but so I'm trying to get to the stuff I know you're really here to do. That you're really psyched for. Let's give Matt some life. Matt needs his life. So gaming and comics, take it away. Give yourself some life, Matt.
No, we're good. So yeah, amongst the all the D23 craziness, there was a gaming panel as well during all that, which they just like loaded 20 minutes with just barrages of announcements. There was also an Ubisoft panel. There was a, not during D23 obviously, but just like hitting streaming. There was a Sony one and a Microsoft one. Like it was kind of a crazy week for gaming, but we're only going to highlight a couple. So the big thing, it is Assassin's Creed's 15th anniversary. I am a big fan of the franchise. So we've unfortunately the leak bug has hit. So we know pieces, and we've known like certain titles and certain things. So Ubisoft clarified it all and announced like they revealed 4 They've revealed 4 actual like titles, even though right now some of them are like code names, they're not actual titles. And then they also hinted at other things down the pipe. One was a mobile game, which I won't really hit, but that was codename Jade. The big one though was Mirage. That's the one that had actually leaked ahead of time. So this is Assassin's Creed Mirage. This one actually follows Basim from Valhalla. He is actually kind of the main assassin that you interact there with, and now we're going to see what led up to his spot. It takes place about 20 years before Valhalla, and it is set in Baghdad. The other big thing here is that it's actually kind of aiming to be more of a throwback to the original few Assassin's Creeds, with more of a focus on stealth and that kind of thing, as opposed to kind of the action RPG likes that like modern Assassin's Creeds have become. I enjoy both, so I'm totally up for them kind of experimenting with this and kind of trying to put more on a social stealth mechanics and things like that. So this is Mirage. This one's coming up first. This is not their next mainline entry though. So that is actually named Codename Red. Now this is the one that most people, including myself, are going to get excited about. Number one, this is from the same team that made Assassin's Creed Odyssey, which is probably my either favorite or second favorite in the franchise's history. So number one, the team behind it is great. Number two, it's set in feudal Japan, which is, people have been wanting this setting forever. And it's kind of like, why hasn't it been done? Well, now it is. So we're going to be getting that. It is talked about as the next mainline entry in the series. We don't have an actual name for it yet, but that is the one that probably we're looking at, like
Assassin's Creed. This is not Ghost of Tsushima.
I mean, look, you're gonna there's a lot of, it's very much that, Shinobi straight, like people have kind of been wanting that and thought it was coming for years, and they never announced it.
It's crazy it took this long.
Yeah, so that is Codename Red, and that is the one that's probably
as much as I love hanging around Da Vinci's Italy and all that, like give
which
me some
I love.
And Shinobi, and let me cut something.
As an Ezio fan, yes, I agree. And then we got Codename Hexy, which is, there wasn't much. There was a small trailer for that one, but it's kind of more horror and supernatural themed. There was definitely if you watch it, it was definitely a bit of a horror vibe, almost a kind of Blair Witch-ish look to things. That one is being made by Ubisoft Montreal. So I mean, again, all of these have big names behind them. We don't know much about that one. That one's probably a little further out. And then they touched on Infinity, which is the leaked thing that people have been speculating about forever. That is actually not a game. That is kind of their hub for all of it. So like going forward, like all Assassin's Creeds will kind of fall under this umbrella that is Infinity. So we don't know much about that.
Infinity or Unity? Because you have Unity written down.
Do I have Unity written down? It's actually Infinity. So I was actually incorrect when I wrote it down. So that's Assassin's Creed. Lots going on there. And then of course the big thing, there was a Disney Games panel, and there was a ton of stuff announced there, including a kart racer that actually looks super fun. But the big news is actually Amy Hennig's new game. So she, of course, from Uncharted fame, and has kind of like started up a lot of projects that have a lot of hype behind them, and then like they haven't happened yet. Like there was a big thing with Google, and it was a big thing before, and they just it's kind of like the Patty Jenkins thing we talked about before. Like they never seem to happen, and it's unfortunate because everyone wants that to happen. So here, she is behind this new set in World War II, this new Marvel game that will feature like a young Steve Rogers. This will actually also have Black Panther, but it will not be T'Challa, obviously, because it's set in World War II. So it's actually T'Challa's grandfather, and then also the previous Gabriel Jones, a soldier, and the Nali, Wakandan spy, is pitched as we don't know much about it yet, but it's going to be a kind of action adventure game. They're kind of structuring it like a TV show, is how they kind of pitched it. And they want it to kind of be accessible for everybody, but obviously it's going to look gorgeous. And just the trailer has that straight up vibe with like the music and like showing like Hydra. And there's a lot going on here, and I'm eating this up with a spoon. So hopefully this actually happens. And two, hopefully it's not 2026 before we actually see this thing. I am
really
hyped for this.
happens or like a DC happens.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I can't even argue with that anymore. So yeah, so that's the big things in gaming. There was obviously other stuff. God of War showed off a whole new story trailer that looks gorgeous. Microsoft unveiled some new things. Like, there was a lot going on in the gaming space, so you can definitely check that out on our gaming side of comicbook.com. Let's move into comics. So I know a favorite of the show has been this Miss Marvel team up series. This is the conclusion with Miss Marvel and Venom, and it picks up where the other one left off, where she's kind of on the track of these mystery robots and trying to figure out why they're like taking samples of people. And then she runs into Dylan, who is obviously the current Venom. And so I just thought, like, man, Jody Houser did such a wonderful job here, because I really just thought this book has been so fun and so lighthearted, even with dealing with some kind of like some darker subjects later on, especially in this issue. But I just think it's so well put together. Like the back and forth between her and Venom is so great, because like she keeps like talking to herself of like, why does it feel like I'm talking to a kid? Like she knows it's not Eddie Brock, but like she doesn't know who it is. And there's such a wonderful moment later on towards the end where she's like, I think your dad, like whatever your relation to Eddie is, I think he'd be proud. And like you see his kind of face change, for the first time, and I hope so. Like, that moment got me, man. That's great. So there was just so many fun little moments, and then we get the epic team up of Wolverine, Moon Knight, Venom, and Miss Marvel. That's just like
crazy.
One day, right? We'll get that in the MCU, right? One day.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, I love this. But what'd you guys think?
Kofi?
Love it. I mean, simple. I've loved this series. I think, like we said, realizing Miss Marvel is kind of like a fanboy in and of herself is key, and her interactions with each of these different heroes has been so much fun. And the book did a good job of focusing on the pairings and the personalities, and not even making you focus so much on the larger overarching story and threat, which gets resolution in this one, and so brings it all together and brings everybody together. So like, this is one of the most successful team up things of these things that I've seen. And each pairing was really good for different reasons.
Yeah, this is so fun and awesome. And it did feel very open-ended, like there's going to be more on the horizon, and I'm hoping for that. And I just hope that there's more and more team ups, and that like I get to see her hang out with everyone.
Also significant X-Men universe movement in this, which is kind of weird. Random. We've been reading all this Dawn of X stuff, but like the biggest significant movement with that what's the guy with the peacock tattoo? Anyway, his like the human anti-mutant leader, like more significant movement in this one. So that's pretty crazy.
Yeah, you actually have to pay attention to X-Force.
Yeah, right. Who knew?
I do agree with Janelle. I think this is open-ended, and I think they would be smart to do it again later on. Give it a little bit of a breather, and then bring in some people. It's fun, but I think it was super successful. And then we move into Batman Hush, Batman Day Special Edition #1. So I put this on here #1 because Batman Day is coming up. #2, it had been so long. It's been a while since I've read Hush, and
me too.
I love Hush as a story. But I was kind of curious. Is there like rose tinted glasses? Like, maybe I haven't read it again, and this is only the first issue they're doing like this. The rest of it will be collected in a special graphic novel that they're doing. But so it was more of like, I was just kind of curious, like revisiting this kind of now, I want to say iconic. I don't know. It's pretty close to.
No, it's definitely it's definitely. I mean, iconic is a fair word.
Okay,
if not like famous, like one of the most famous Batman stories now. Yeah.
So I was just kind of curious. So from what did you guys think going back and reading? And Janelle, I don't think you've read Hush.
I have not read Hush.
Okay.
And yet this was awesome. Like, loved it. I'm so glad that I kept reading. And like I went for the whole thing. Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and then man, those Jim Lee art.
I'm the opposite. See,
it's
kind of the opposite.
Okay.
I have Hush. I have like a really hardback edition of it. It's one of the first Batman stories that I was always like besides that and Dark Knight Returns, that I was like, oh no, I need that in like an
Right.
official real book of this because it's so good. And I've read it a million times, but not in a long time. And so this was my first way back in, and I was just like, huh. And there's just something weird about comics sometimes. You can love an era of comics and swear by it, but then you go back and you look again when you're older, maybe you've experienced more, and you're just like, oh, wow. And I love Jim Lee, and I'm always going to love Jim Lee art. He is iconic, but it's just not my style of Batman anymore. Like, I like the kind of more noir influence, dirty kind of artists that have come in and made Batman a little bit edgier, surreal in some ways. Like, this was interesting to read up against Batman versus Robin, for instance.
Yeah.
Which I have my own thoughts on, but just in terms of the art and the aesthetic and the way that it's presented, Jim Lee is very classic superhero kind of stuff. So it was unusually bright and pretty for a Batman book for me. I haven't seen this bright, pretty Batman, in a long time, but I didn't hate it. It's just, it was jarring to see again. And it made me kind of, it always messes with your memory of the thing. Right.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I agree
That
with
makes
that.
sense.
Especially for as much Batman as we read.
Mhm.
And a lot of that Batman is kind of set in that noir, darker. I mean, just the core
I
Batman
like
series
this
right now. Well, and I can appreciate both for what they are. I will say it was actually a little jarring for me as well, just because
Wow.
this is a very pretty Jim Lee's art is just gorgeous. I always love Jim Lee's art. And it's just very pretty and bright and colorful. I love that. But it did take me a second to like kind of get reacclimated to that, and for as kind of darker and grittier as a tale as this kind of moves into, So I still loved it. Like, I still enjoyed it. But yeah, it did. I will admit, like, I had a moment there too. I would actually be very curious if I could read the whole thing.
And it's funny because, like, back when this first came out in the 2010s, this, like, getting Jim Lee to do a Batman book in this kind of story was like a dream come true for us.
Yeah.
Like, we were like, what? This epic story and it's Jim Lee art? Like, the whole thing? Like, oh my God, it was a big deal. So it's kind of funny right now to look back. But no, but I mean, the story's still great. Except I felt like there was one page that was out of place when he was chasing Catwoman.
Oh, it was. It totally was.
Yeah,
okay, because that threw me off for a minute. I was like, and then okay, so it was a misplaced spot.
Okay.
So interesting. I would be interested to read the whole thing and go back through. I'm going
to read the whole thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm reading.
So it's a perfect segue to Batman versus Robin, which was the number one, which was the poll winner. This book is definitely moving from the Robin series that is currently happening, as well as kind of the core Bat books. It does a decent enough job of kind of getting you up to speed on certain things. I will say we've touched on the Robin series before, and we've obviously read the core Batman series. So I feel like us, like, as a show, or probably, I don't know about you guys, but at least kind of had like a basis of understanding of, like, you knew where Robin was, you knew where Batman, like, we kind of come in with that a little bit, so it made it a little easier. But the stuff in here with, spoilers, by the way, coming in for this book, because I can't not talk about them if we're going to talk about this. So Alfred shows up, and because of Damien's messing with magic and all these different magical artifacts he's been given, and he's now, it looks like, somehow also opened us a way for Alfred to come back to the world of the living. And there's this whole part of the book where, like, Bruce is like testing him and is kind of watching him, because he's like, I want to believe this is true, but there's no way that this can be true. And then all that stuff is going back and forth, right? And then Damien, there's a whole fight scene with Damien. And then we get to this boat scene, and there's a spot where they're talking about Damien, and Bruce is like, hey, I got, like, you can't go. Like, we need to, you need to stay over here or whatever. I'll go do that. And Alfred gets upset because he's like, he's my family too. He's my, like, you said he's your son. Like, he's my son too, right? And there's this amazing sequence after that where, like, the facade falls from Bruce, and he's just like, okay, it's really him. And they have this hug, and, like, I was just like, I was in it. I was in that space, man. It's just a wonderful kind of moment from there on. So I'm definitely intrigued moving forward. Like I want to see how all this ends. Also, just there's a great scene between like Damien and Alfred, and Damien also seems to be under control, so he's like not buying certain things, but even that, like the facade kind of slowly drops. There's a lot going on here. I did not know really what to expect coming into this book, and I wasn't like, when it won the poll, I was like, oh, okay, cool. And then I left with a much better kind of feeling after I read it. So I'm glad I read it. What do you guys think?
You know how I feel about Batman. I feel like there's certain things Batman can do really well story-wise, and I think there's some ways that Batman stumbles into things. And we're doing this in the main Batman book or the detective books or detective comics books, I forget which. But he's going up against this like ancient mystical society right now. I was like, I don't really feel all that. And so this book's messy to me. That's the word I came away with. I love the artwork in it. And I love that it's Batman legitimately taking on Damien. But the premise is just messy. It's already too complicated. Like Alfred just showing back up. I feel like they're just stepping on ground that I don't want them to bring Alfred back. Like Alfred dying has been a real significant point in Batman's life. And in this story, that feels like it could be a permanent turning point that really changes things. And taking all that back just seems they've already taken Bane's death back. Like all that City of Bane stuff was pretty significant and awesome. Yeah. And to take all that back now and start unwriting what Tom King did, it's just kind of like, I'm not here for it. I think Alfred is so much better. As one of the most crushing Batman stories I read is that single issue of Batman when Thomas Wayne locks him in that room after he's killed Alfred, and he's just listening to Alfred's last will and testament on this tape recorder the whole time while he's trying to detective his way out of this locked room. And just having Alfred's presence in that way was more powerful than having the actual character standing in the room. And I don't want to do this. And like Batman and magic is always a bad idea to me. So, Damien being possessed is like about the limit I can do. The rest of what's going on here is too complicated and distracting from what I really liked was Damien and Batman really having these conversations about who Damien is, who he wants to be, and his struggles with identity and trying to best his father. Because that's Oedipal stuff anybody can understand, right? So,
Janelle, what'd you think?
I'm so intrigued by this because I love magic and mysticism, and I want more Zatanna. I want more. I want all of that. I'm Batman. I really do get so burned out on it. Like in the comments, Bruce Wayne's like, we have a Bruce Wayne in the chat. He's like, you need to read Hush. And I'm like, I hear you, but I don't want to. Even if it's the best ever, I want to read Secret Invasion to prep for that show. Like, I want to read whatever is like coming out. And like, I just really do feel like the comics never align with the Batman movies for me. Like, I've never read a Batman comic that like reminded me of a film that I've watched. Like, ever. And so it's just its own thing and I like it for that. But if I'm going to take extra time outside of my day and outside of like what we need to do for this, for the pod, I'm going to read something to prep me better for like other projects that are coming out, probably on the Marvel side. And that's where like, I think DC is really falling. Now, this was so fun for me. And I really do like the magic aspect. I think it's really cool. And we already know it's Batman and they can't kill off Alfred. So of course they're going to bring him back. Like they're just going to keep on reinventing every character. They're just going to always come back and no one's permanently dead ever because it's Batman and DC cannot do anything other than Batman.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, like this is the same thing with Aunt May, right? Like she's died, it feels like 9 times. They always bring her back. Uncle Ben is the only one that stayed dead.
Uncle Ben.
And they even brought him back for a minute, but it wasn't like really him, like whatever. So it's never there's certain characters that like they're always going to bring back. And then last but not least, and this was just a fun we can go over real quick, Janelle, but Captain Marvel number 41. This ends the current arc with Binary and the Trials of Magic with Carol and everything. This issue had me at the hug scene, man. I love that. There's there's so much fun. Like Jessica Drew just, you know, getting mad at getting mad at Hazmat because like she took a second to eat some tacos. And like there's just so much. This book's just so fun. And it's, you know, the Scarlet Witch scene brings like some real like emotional stuff to it. But then, you know, you have, you know, Carol taking on a, you know, Godzilla like creature. Like it's just a lot of fun. I enjoy this book so much. What do you think?
Oh yeah, love. This has been such a good read, and I love Binary. Like I want to cosplay so bad as Binary. She's so cool. But yeah, the whole thing has just been really really fun, and you bet your butt I was like, I'm going to read this even though we have a lot of books this week and I'm trying to fold menus and programs for my wedding. I'm like, I'm reading this because that's how much I like it. So even when it's not required reading, I'm on it.
Boom.
Yeah.
Love it. So that's comics.
Oh, I'm muted. I never
Yay.
mute. All right. But, yeah, I was muted. Sorry. That'll do it for this episode of Comic. Oh, no, it's not. We're not over.
No, you got some.
Our hype picks. So hype picks. Looks like I'm the only one who did this. So, all right. But
Oh, no,
my
I have
hype picks
one.
for this week. Okay, cool.
You're good.
My hype picks for the week, really quick. Atlanta's final season. Donald Glover's and FX's Atlanta final season premiered last night. It is on FX Hulu now. I've seen the first 2 episodes, and man, that second episode, I had to call a friend and be like, "Did you write this episode? Because this seems like you." But it is pretty gnarly. There's a twist to the second episode, and it's pretty gnarly. So FX's Atlanta, which is coming back less than 6 months after season 3 ended, is coming in to finish it up, and it's back and better than ever. I already told you guys that as soon as I leave here, I'm going to get my Anna de Armas on because I will be hitting play on Blonde, which is Anna de Armas's Marilyn Monroe biopic. It's just sitting over there on my screen on my computer, which I don't know, based on the rating, I don't know if I should have left that up. I got to go check out some black and white on that, and I will have more to say about that. And also on Netflix right now is Cobra Kai's latest season.
Yeah.
Yes, Chris. We're gonna mention it. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm stealing Janelle's thunder, aren't I?
That's fine. No, you can go for it.
No. That's Janelle's thing.
I
I forgot.
been the whole thing.
For some reason, I thought you were doing something else. Wow. Okay, Janelle's gonna take that one. But also on Netflix, it's Morbid time. So
Morbius.
which Morbius was a lot easier to take down when I didn't have to pay, when I could pause, when I didn't have to look at it, when I could just sit there. A lot better. I gotta say, I enjoyed it a lot more.
Oh.
So, yeah, I think it's a fun, guilty pleasure viewing. So, Morbid time, baby.
Yeah, I really
Janelle,
liked
take
it.
it away.
Yeah, dude, I did watch Morbius. It was my first time watching it. And just to mention, like, I definitely did not understand why people hated it so much. I think because of that, people saying how bad it was, I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible. And then when I watched it, I was very pleasantly surprised. So I will say I very much enjoyed it. And I still love Jared Leto. Kung Fu Cobra Kai. I'm sorry, I was gonna say Kung Fu Panda. I also love that, all of that stuff. But Cobra Kai, so good, guys. This show is just a rabbit hole of like 80s references and like callbacks to the original Karate Kid. So it's just super fun. I've been watching it since it first came out. I think it's season 4. Binged the whole thing. And I would say it's not like the strongest season, but it's just one you gotta watch and enjoy it for what it is. Don't take it too seriously. Have a good time with it and get all up in your feels thinking about Karate Kid and back when you were a kid and how you wanted to like do a crane kick and stuff. So yeah. It's great. The crane.
Oh my god!
You know
I don't have a hype pick,
No,
but I will say I saw Barkwood Comics comment from like right at the beginning of the show, and I looked up the Marvel HasLab for Ghost Rider. Robbie Reyes is my favorite Ghost Rider, and the fact that you can get the car and all of that, 350 is a little steep. I think 300 probably would have been like that sweet spot. So I don't know. It's kind of right on the line for me, but it looks cool. I mean, it has flaming wheels and it lights up. It's pretty slick. So yeah. So there's Nick. Let's see.
Okay, there you have it. That'll be Comic Book Nation, your only show that does it for geek culture. I'm hungry. I'm going to order some lunch now, so we are going to get out of here. But this has been us. You can subscribe on our YouTube channel, YouTube.com/Comic Book Nation. You can follow us on Twitter at that same handle, at Comic Book Nation. You can follow us individually by the handles you see here on the screen if you're watching, but if you're listening, I'm at Kofi Outlaw.
I'm at Matt Aguilar CB.
And I am at Janelle Wheeler.
And you can catch the show streaming now on Friday nights on Paramount Plus. So if you miss it, you can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Paramount Plus Friday nights, which if you're not going out and getting into this crazy world, why not? It's pretty awesome. We also had to debate watching it over NFL football. That was a real Sophie's choice. Yeah, we were up against NFL football, and I think we clearly won those ratings, right? The return of football.
Yes.
Comic Book Nation. We did it. All right. Let's just go with that. Comic Book Nation, a.k.a. the NFL killer. We're out of here. Peace.
Bye, guys.